A common question when trying to get to know somebody is the question, where are you from? Now, this question doesn't seem like it's very complicated for most. However, for military kids, it can be quite the question to answer. Hi, I'm Natalie, and I'm a military kid that has lived in 7 different states. And although I do have a state that I say, sometimes I get a little confused and I'm not really sure what state to say. I can talk about the state I was born in, the state I've lived in the longest, the state I currently live in, or my favorite state. But I don't really want to say all 7 states. That seems a little complicated. However, I am from all of those states, so it makes it a tad harder to tell somebody where I'm from. Now, it can be complicated because I've lived so many places and I've taken experiences from all of them. Those experiences have shaped me to who I am today. When you're a military kid, not only is this question hard, but the actual moving part in being a military kid is hard. What I mean by that is you have to adapt to your surroundings rather quickly. For example, I have to adapt to a new school with their new curriculum, their new policies, their procedures really quickly, even if my old school was completely different. Next, I have to surround myself with new kids that I've never met before, and I have to try to make friends, even though I know that in the next couple of months or years, I'm going to be moving away from them, which can make it a lot harder to make good connections. Next, I have to adjust to a whole new house. I'm moving all of my stuff into one big place, just knowing that I'm going to have to pack it all up again and move somewhere else. And lastly, there's a routine. I thrive on a routine. So once I have a good routine and it's all picked up and it's working nicely, just when that starts to happen, we move again. Now, this isn't all bad, as I've gained a lot of experiences from it. I've gained a lot of knowledge, and it's the way I've learned the way that my mind works. I didn't realize how much of a problem this question was going to be until I moved here to Auburn, Alabama for college. The 3 major questions that people ask you when you first move to college are your name, your major, and where you're from. Now, I typically say that I'm from Huntsville, Alabama, because that's where I've lived the longest and it's where I currently live when I go home. However, I could talk about Alaska, where I was born, or Tennessee, where my parents are from and we lived there as well, but it makes it a little harder to explain. I've taken a lot of things from all these different states that I've lived in. For example, Alaska, I've learned how to bundle up without getting frostbite. In Hawaii, I learned how to put enough sunscreen on where I don't get sunburn and pick out the best pineapples. And from Tennessee and Alabama, I've learned the southern manners and a little bit of the southern charm. I wouldn't be the same person I am without all of these experiences, but it doesn't make this question any easier. So what should we do about it? By changing this phrase with just a couple words, it can make it a lot easier for us military kids to answer. Instead of saying, where are you from, we can say, where do you live? This applies it to the current instead of the past. So when somebody asks me, where do I live? I tell them Huntsville, Alabama. It makes it a lot easier for us military kids to answer because it's talking about our current state or our current city, current country, etc. It's easier to answer and we can talk about our current status instead of places that we have been. In the end, the question, where are you from, is often complicated and challenging for military kids. Just a few tweaks to this phrase can help us not worry about our first impression as much, as well as give more of a direct answer. Thank you.